Today we look at one of the most interesting releases from Yamaha, the CLP-725. It's the entry line to the Clavinova line, and it's really a great starting instrument, but it's lacking some features that you might want. Let's see if this is the right one for you.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in beautiful downtown San Antonio, Texas.
And I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, check out our other videos, sign up for notifications, like our videos, leave us comments. We really appreciate all the support and we love to interact with you guys. Ted?
We're talking 725.
We're talking CLP, right?
It's like the entry line CLP, isn't it?
It's interesting because over the years, Clavinova has been known as like the digital piano to get. You know, everything's compared to it at least. There's been some really great releases with Roland, Kawai. There's great offerings out there. Even Casio has some that, you know, it's worth taking a look at for sure. But Clavinova has always been like, this is the mark. This is what you should look out first with digital pianos and see if it kind of fits your budget, fits what you're looking for. But over the years, they've introduced new products like the YDP series from Yamaha. It's getting interesting when you look at the very entry line of CLP.
Clavinova was also a setting on the original Clavinova. The first CLP that came out had 3 grand piano sounds in it. It was an 8-bit machine.
8 bits.
And they had a stereo symphonic type button that I think said Clavinova type or sound. At one time, there was a Clavinova sound that went with these. And then it just primarily really focused on being a digital piano, which was like an electronic replacement for an acoustic piano. And the CLP, the 725 that we're here to talk about today, is precisely exactly that. It's a perfect piano. If you have young ones at home or young students that just need a piano to play on, this is a great thing to have.
Yeah, and the 725 is a continuation of the 25, if you will, of Clavinova. So there was the 625 as its predecessor, the 525, and every about 4 years they do these refreshes. And so there's the 725, the 35, the 45, the 65, the 75, the 85. And so these are a huge product offering. But similarly, they have a YDP series that goes YDP 164. You know, there's a whole bunch of them. But the 184 is actually more expensive. So the most expensive YDP is more expensive than the least expensive Clavinova. So there's this like gray area where it's like, should I spend the money on the YDP 184 or should I spend the money on the CLP 725? And what do I get and why would I look at each one? And I think you hit the nail on the head that the CLP series is aimed and designed to replace an acoustic instrument. And so the 725 is, I would say, limited in features, but excels at some really good things like the action and the sound. And so what Yamaha has done with the new 725 is, of course, they've added everything that they've added in the new Clavinova line, the real grand expression 2, the modeling, that the VRM is updated, which is their virtual resonance modeling, and that's basically making sure that the instrument, the digital sample is vibrating like an acoustic piano would vibrate, and that the reverb is there like an acoustic instrument. And the real grand expression is like, so all the nuances of every keystroke sounds like an acoustic instrument. They also have the Grand Touch keybed, and so the Grand Touch, and this is the real upgrade over the YDP 184. So if you look at the YDP 184, the feature set looks actually similar to a CLP 735, which is the step up from the 725. But the 725 actually has a better action than the YDP 184. So that's kind of where they get you, and they say, okay, we have 10 voices on the CLP 725, but we have a better action, which is that Grand Touch S. And so I know you've been around these actions for a long time. The Grand Touch was first introduced with the 685. So in the predecessors, the 600 series, they had introduced that on the higher end Clavinovas, and it was a really big hit. It was a longer key. It was made out of wood. It was a really nice action, but then they created the Grand Touch S, which is the small, it's the light version, which is plastic keys, but it has similar texture, similar feel to that other action, the Grand Touch regular, the Grand Touch. And so what do you think of the new Grand Touch S?
I originally liked the Grand Touch action when it first came out on that 685. And the first thing that went through my mind is that Grand Touch used to be a product that Yamaha had, was their digital Grands was actually called a Grand Touch, and they had a different type of action and response. It was all entirely different for that type of piano. They've emulated the wooden key part into the Grand Touch action with the reduced version by not having the wooden keys. I'm not sure about that action. I probably needed to play and practice on that 725 a bit more than I did, because it is a little bit different for me. I want to say it almost plays too easily. And so that way there, a lot of times on a real piano and on the heavier, more expensive digital pianos, you can hit two keys and not have them both trigger, okay? And on here, I've had a couple of double triggers, and so I had to kind of really watch what I was playing. And again, part of it for me was, I'm thinking, is that the action was just a little bit too light. It does have, on the next model up, you can adjust it to hard and soft and medium and that. But the 725, I believe, is just the way that it is.
Oh, they have limited. You can change the feel, but you can't do it as many times as like on the 735 or the 745. But yeah, you are able to make micro adjustments, but not like so you can go from a soft action to a medium to a hard. Whereas on the other one, there's soft 1 and soft 2 and hard 1 and hard 2. So there's a little bit more scaling.
They're also kind of telling you in that instrument, when you purchase it, you don't have all these massive connection ports in the back. It doesn't have line ins or lines out. There's no stereo outs. It just has the headphone jack.
Yeah.
And so that right there is telling you this is a self-contained thing for what it does. And what it does is allow that a student can practice on it with or without headphones. And I've used them at gigs before. I think I mentioned that to you. There was one time I had an emergency gig. There was no one here. The only CLP you can pick up by yourself and carry is like the 725 or the white EPs you were mentioning, because they're attached. You can pick them up and walk out with it.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't one of these sing-along piano bar kind of gigs. It was just for ambience in the back, a guy in a suit playing a piano, people ate food. Or that kind of gig you could do with it, but it's not really designed for that. But again, it's telling you with what you get with it is kind of a small self-contained unit that isn't really designed to be ported out in the way that some of the others, like the 735 is.
No, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because like we said in the intro, I think there are some features that if you are a more advanced player, this might not be the right one for you, because it's not going to have, it doesn't have MIDI controls.
They're telling you that with the marketing and the packaging. Okay?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's saying. Like, oh, I was looking for something like that. Hey, if you were looking for something a little bit more, this ain't it. Let's go up to the 735.
But I appreciate that what they did is they put the offering of the better action and the better sound. And so they've actually updated the CFX sound throughout the line, but the 725 over the predecessor, the 625, got a new CFX sound. It also has the binaural sample off of the CFX, not on the Bösendorfer. That's only going to be on the higher end models.
Right.
But they did update the sounds in it. They gave you that better action, the Grand Touch S. But really, they're kind of saying that's the upgrade. That's what you get for this. We're not going to do Bluetooth audio, Bluetooth MIDI, not here. We're not going to do audio in, audio outs, not here. And so there's just a couple things that are missing as far as functionality goes, and we wanted to bring that up because this isn't going to be for everybody, the 725, but it would be a great instrument for a kid
great
beginner.
starter piano. Oh, a couple of kids in the house, and that is just a wonderful. They're probably better off with that than they would be an acoustic piano.
Yeah, especially
that's
with
older used and not
the old
working properly.
spinets.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a great instrument for that.
And it's about 98 pounds, so it's very lightweight, like you were saying. Whereas all the other Clavinovas are at least 130 or more.
Right.
It's the most lightweight. It's going to be very compact. The controls are a little bit. You have to learn how to navigate them. It's not going to be as big of a control panel as some of the higher end Clavinovas, but just a great starting point. So let's take a listen to it. Let's hear the new samples. Let's get a feel for the action and all that. But let's take a listen right now.
All right, Patrick, I don't know if you noticed, but I tried to play a broken chord arpeggio arrangement so you can tell the difference between the piano sounds. And that's one thing that I did notice, and you can notice, is the difference between the piano sounds. And that is the one thing about the CLP-725 that is a little bit different than the YDP, is that it is more product specific. So that people that are already aware of Clavinovas have to go look for a Clavinova to find the entry line Clavinova, as opposed to, I think the YDPs are just for general music release. They're not product specific for the exact piano stores, if I'm mistaken. There's some kind of differentiation.
Yeah.
Because some, like you had mentioned, some of those YDPs actually have a little bit more power in them than the CLPs, especially the entry line.
Yeah, the entry.
And compared to the others. But in terms of being able to play and listen to the 12 or 10 different sounds it has in here, I really do like this keyboard. For what it is made and designed for is perfect, because I had students that had these before.
Yeah.
And so when they put it in a home, no one worries about the piano or practice time, because they can put headphones on and play on it.
Yeah, no, and it sounds great. They also added that grand expression modeling to the CLP-725, so just a little bit more complex sound. More is going on when the sample's firing off and when you're playing it. And so it adds, dynamic control, articulation to your playing style. And so I think that's a great addition. I think it's, like you said, a replacement for the family who would spend, $1,500 on a Spin-It or on a console that, needs some work, but they're gonna say start on this. I would highly recommend taking a look, spending a little bit extra. The 725 I think starts off around $19.99, so not under $2,000. I think a solid product offering. You get 20 watts of power per side. Not going to be super loud, but it's going to fill the room. It's going to be something you can play on, something you can love. The only thing, again, is the connections. There's no MIDIs, there's no outs, audio in, audio outs, and then there's also USB to host, but not USB to device.
That's what you want for a beginning student. You don't want them wasting a lot of time fooling around too, especially if they're younger and they're more serious about taking in reading and playing and comprehending the music literature, the manuscript. If they have all this other stuff, they're going to ignore all that. So there's a lot to be said about having the simplicity of an enclosed unit. That's a piano.
Yeah, and so 256 note polyphony, something at this price point you would expect. One of the ones that I did not expect them to not have in the feature set, and I'd have to go look back at the 625 to see if it was on there, but split mode. So there's dual mode, so you can play strings on top of piano and kind of experiment with some different sounds, but there's no split mode. So for a piano teacher, that'd probably be a big no-no on having it for your studio, because I know a lot of times getting two kids playing split mode or playing with them is a big feature set for some people.
It is primarily the teachers, because they can sit right there and play in the same range that the student is playing.
And the kid's ear hears the same notes playing in two different spots, which is nice. The other thing is the track recorder. There's only a two track recorder, so not a whole deep feature set as far as recording. When you move up in the line, of course, you do get the 16 track recorder. There's only a 2-track recorder on this. So I did want to point out those, just the feature set isn't robust. And of course, this is the entry line product. You don't expect it to be as robust as some of the others. But not to say that this isn't a great entry level 725. Brand new from Yamaha. We're just now seeing them here in the store. It was announced, of course, it's almost like a half a year ago now, but of course with COVID and things like that, it's been hard to get products into the store. But we've been really looking forward to the 725. We will be comparing it against some of the other lines. The YDP 184, we want to do that video, but also the 735. What are the differences? Why might I want to upgrade to the 735? We're going to highlight that in another video, so make sure you guys are subscribed and be looking out for that video, because if you're a parent or if you're a student, college student, anyone looking for a digital instrument, I think these are two great options, and there's some key differences that we'll kind of highlight in that video, and also play them side by side so that you can hear and see and make your own opinion on those. So, Ted Barsalou, I'm Patrick Marr. We're with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you've played the 725, if you own one, please let other people know what you think. Is it great? Do you love it? Are there things you're missing that you wish it had? I know a lot of people would really appreciate the feedback and also would help them in their journey in finding the right instrument. Thank you guys so much for watching.